Come on in, come on in. All right, well, we'll get going. Well, thank you for coming. After lunch, my name is Eddie Gonzalez. I work at Uber Operations, and I've been working with APHL and the Ames platform now for about 8 years, okay? 7 years ago, this is not my computer, so it's a Mac. So, oh, wait, here we go. 7 years ago, a much younger and thinner Eddie Gonzalez.
Several of the participants in the project are the CDC, of course, Association of Public Health Labs, and several
It was in this building,
it's been
and the
truly
topic
a
was
collaborative effort.
the R&R Hub.
Team effort. It's been
Okay.
a hard year.
The original R&R Hub. At that point,
slides,
we had 3 training partners. We had a total of roughly 1,000 messages, and it was mainly
from
food.
Florida, from Texas, Nebraska as well. And I'd like to take the opportunity before we begin the presentation to give everyone a round of applause.
All right, so that's a little history, okay? We've come a long way. But before we start today, let me find my, sorry about that. All right, before we start today, I want to recognize a few folks that are in the audience with us. Firstly, Marty Sibley and Dari, who are new members of APHL's Informatics team, and they're going to be working very, very closely with the Ames platform. So we're very excited to have new folks part of the team to really allow us to take that Ames platform to continue to take it to the next level. And I also want to recognize Wes Kennemore, Dr. Kennemore, who's not here right now. I think he's giving another presentation. As Jeff alluded to earlier, the reason we're here speaking today, a lot of it is his fault, right? He really, over the last 4 or 5 years, he really helped us get Ames to where it's at, and now he's basically given the baton over to Dari and Marty, and which we're very grateful for your help and your participation. So a welcome applause for Dari and Marty. And we also have other folks in the audience, like Mark Conde and other folks that are part of the Informatics, like Willie's here as well, Informatics Committee for APHL. So we're happy you joined and joined us today. So my goal over the next 10 minutes is to do really a quick overview of Ames for those that have never heard of Ames or want to get an update on Ames, but I'm really going to emphasize on the new stuff, the new capabilities or the upgraded capabilities I've been working on really over the last 2 years, okay? Now the purpose of this session is about data, right? Message translation, transformation, integration brokers, health informatics, and when I gave that presentation back in 2009, all Ames was, it was very important, but it was mainly routing, okay? And it served an incredibly important purpose, but which is our bread and butter. But now, over the years, through organic growth and through additional technologies and leadership from CDC and APHL, we bolted on additional services, and really the standing room only now. All right.
I stole a bunch of chairs from next door, but
You did?
locked me out.
Thank you. So this is I think Dari, one of Dari's favorite maps because hey, it includes the whole United States. Okay, that's pretty neat. When we first started back, my original diagram in 2009 had Nebraska, had Florida, had Virginia, and a little bit of Texas. Okay, so we're happy to say that all the jurisdictions, some labs, some agency, or some both, are on the Ames platform today, either sending data, storing data, or receiving data through the Ames platform. And when you'll see in the corner, on the top left, you've got all 50 states. On the right, you've got some private sector organizations, some commercial organizations like Quest Diagnostics. We're happy to say we're working with Quest Diagnostics on a very, very high profile, really a project of national significance, which includes basically or involves about 10% of all ELR in the US. And part of that project, we are developing, as of last week, we're developing an innovative web portal. A portal to allow the users of Ames to be able to see not only your data going from point A to point B, but even potential to drill down to your data and actually see the HL7 message, okay? As you can imagine, highly secure. This is PHI, all hosted on Ames and developed by the Ames team, which is really exciting. And this is news from basically last week. On the bottom right, you've got many organizations that are here today or really over the next 48 hours, organizations that have trusted or entrusted in Ames for hosting, for cybersecurity, for guidance and some advice, for developing several tools. So Ames, being in the middle, has really collaborated or allowed organizations to collaborate with each other. Some organizations that may not have collaborated in other ways. So almost like a bridge for collaboration as well. And then on the bottom left, you have the different program areas that are receiving data through the Ames platform. That video that I showed you, back then it was basically one program area, right? It was basically for the FLIP initiative. And then the LIMSI folks jumped on, and it has grown to what we have today, roughly 9 program areas leveraging the Ames platform, which is very exciting. So priorities for us have been, yes, we are on the cloud, okay, that's very important. But once you're on the cloud, I always say you start off your slide decks with security first, right? People are always going to ask about security. That's been a very, very big focus of APHL. The legal aspects as well. The more data, the more trading partners, the more MOUs, and the more data sharing agreements. So APHL is committed to streamlining that process and really reducing that burden of paperwork when it comes to the legal pieces. And then one of the things that we're working with Dari and Marty on is methods and tools. So if an organization like Linda from Kansas, for example, comes and says, hey Dari or Eddie, I want a service on Ames, we should be able to have, our tool belt should be able to tell a Linda, this is what it's going to cost you, this is what is available today, things to that nature, be able to customize the solutions per the request. And we're headed in that direction, which is really, really exciting. This is the latest Gartner quadrant. Back when I gave this presentation back in 2009, cloud computing wasn't the hottest thing in the world. But what you will notice here is that Microsoft's catching up. However, Amazon still is the leader. And for those that don't know, the Ames platform is on Amazon Web Services, and we have been on Amazon Web Services since 2014. Okay, so it's been a little bit over 2 years. A little bit about AWS. So we are in multiple regions. Okay, so we are in the East region of the United States in Virginia, and we're also in the West region of the United States in Oregon. Now, that doesn't mean it's 2 data centers, because in each region we have multi-availability zones. So in each region we have roughly, it could be up to 6 or 7 data centers in that region. Okay, and a lot of the data is being replicated back and forth. And some of the data is faster or more readily available because of the location of where you're at. We do a lot of work with California. Naturally, having that data in the Oregon region or in the West region makes more sense when it comes to speed and reliability and things to that nature. So one of the things that we've been doing is also refreshing our brand and trying to make it a little easier to understand, because for many years they said, well, Eddie, you've got this black box that does a lot of magic. The reality is it isn't a black box. There's a lot of what some of our folks call Lego pieces that come together in an integrated fashion to provide these services. And by the way, these slides will all be available for everyone, as Dave mentioned. So these are the different types of components that we have. To me, the most important component is here on the left, and I know it's a little hard to read, but that's the people, okay? So today, from an Ames perspective, you got anywhere between 15 and 20 people that work on Ames, and they can be project managers, they can be leadership from APHL, they can also be developers or integration engineers. To me, that's the most important component, and that comes packaged with the Ames platform. This is a diagram that many of you seen if you've seen this presentation before, and it's our functional architecture, and basically has the different buckets of components or services. Okay, the latest or the newest addition is the Steve 2.0 application by the organization called NAFSIS, focused on vital statistics. So they chose APHL and Ames to host this new solution, which will work closely with NCHS at CDC, focused on vital statistics, which is great. It's a new project, and they've chosen Ames to host their data, just like the ONC chose Ames for their FIS project related to cross-jurisdictional immunizations, for example. So we've got hosting. We also have tools and services that folks use that, they may not want to use it behind the firewalls in their organization, or they don't have the budget, for example. It can be virtual desktops, it can be hosting of data, or archiving of data, or backing up of data. That's more on the platform of applications layer. A little bit about compliance. The latest news related to compliance, we just finished our FISMA moderate audit. Our FISMA moderate audit, we finished probably around a month and a half ago. Marty, thank you for your help with that. It was a heck of a process. I mean, they ask you, you can't imagine how many questions they ask you. I mean, it was tough, but we came back and it was a total success. Some of the auditors came back and said they had never seen a platform, first of all, that looks like this, that does this, and secondly, that is as secure as our platform. Okay, so And that also is a testament to the folks that we have from a security and compliance perspective. So that's just an example of what we do to assure that we're meeting all the requirements from a federal perspective, and really the requirements of APHL, CDC, and all the stakeholders that are involved. A little bit about cybersecurity. So we don't have an army of 30 people looking at monitors and checking every. There's actually people standing outside in the hallway. We don't have actually 30 people monitoring, these systems. What we do is we do have very capable folks that have worked in the Department of Defense, folks that have worked in, submarines and hardening. I always say hardening servers underwater is like the opposite of cloud computing. But we use special tools to basically self-remediate and monitor roughly 12 million files or audit logs on a daily basis, okay? That's how much activity happens on the Ames platform. Activity can be someone logging on to the Ames platform, like a Dave Sanderson via Workspace, or activity can be someone from a foreign country trying to penetrate the system. They do that to every server, right? So all of that data is logged, and then our tools analyze that data, look for anomalies, and also look for deltas from one data to the other, and then they send alerts out, whether it's we don't have pagers, but whether it's a phone or an email. We've got an escalation process that does that. Highly secure. This is just a map of different potential hits that we get on a daily basis. So there's some bad people out there that just scour the net looking for weak points and weaknesses, and we've got reports that we look at really on an hourly basis. I'm going to move on here a little bit. As I mentioned, our people is one of the most important parts, and Dave's going to come up in a few minutes and talk about technical assistance. Really, the Ames platform went to the next level when APHL implemented the Technical Assistance Initiative. We had, us and the Ames platform, we were really busy making sure this thing was secure, developed, and adding different components. But we needed folks to go out on the street. We needed folks to meet the Todds, for example, of Illinois, or the Lindas, and actually in the Johns, and actually explain to them what Ames does, and to see if Ames fits in their infrastructure and in their processes. So really, as I mentioned earlier, I think, in my opinion, the most valuable piece of the Ames platform ultimately is the people, their experience, and their love for health informatics. Some of the people that are members of our team, and these are folks that have worked not only in public health, but also in hospitals. These are folks that have worked for the Department of Defense, as I mentioned earlier. These are folks that have some of the hardest certifications on the planet. And really, APHL has assembled this special operations team, if you want to call it, special ops team, that manages this Ames platform. And naturally, as we grow, we continue adding new folks that really help us streamline those processes. Folks like a Dari, a Royce, for example, and a Marty. We're going to skip over a few of these. This is one of my favorite slides. So I'm sorry, I like them all. I do like all the slides. Yes, actually, I do. So John over here is on a phone call with Nebraska, okay? And they both have to exchange data, okay? Srinath may be on that call as well. And they both have to exchange data, and it could be ELR data, for example. And then someone says, wait a minute, aren't you on that Ames Hub platform thing? And then the other folks on the other line say, yeah, we actually are. Okay, well, why don't we get together on a 30-minute phone call and let's start exchanging data? And that's one of the beauties of the Ames platform, is that once you're on the Ames platform, you're authenticated, you've gone through the onboarding process, you can then exchange data really with anyone else that's on the Ames platform, and it's minimal effort. I mean, John, he'll talk about that. And that's where that organic growth related to cross-jurisdictional exchange is happening. We're up to, I think, 15 different data flows. And by the way, this is happening organically. Folks, are literally doing what we believed was going to happen back 10 years ago, which is really nice. So these are some of the stats. We're close to 4 million messages in total today. That increase has a lot to do with the whole genome sequencing project and the Advanced Molecular Detection project. We're working with 5 centers there, lab reference centers. 12 million log files on a daily basis. That's a lot of logs, okay? So we've got those tools that scour those logs and look for those anomalies and those things that, wait a minute, that's a red flag, let's look into it. And we have roughly 80 trading partners, okay? So we've got 80 trading partners on the Ames platform today, some using it more than others. But, in the last 8 years, when we first started off with 3 or 4, we're proud to share with these numbers. A lot of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears have gone into it. We have been heavily involved with the Electronic Case Reporting Initiative. And for those that haven't been down to the Interoperability Showcase yet, Cy and several of us, including Dari, will be down there at 2:30, so you can actually see the integration between a cerner or a provider, the AIMS platform, and also a public health agency that's using Rhapsody as their integration engine and Atlas Medical as their disease surveillance system. So I recommend everyone, if you've got time, to go down there at 2:30. Okay? ELR is picking up. We have roughly 10 states that have leveraged AIMS not only to send data to CDC or to other organizations, but also to receive data. And it's helped them with meaningful use over the years. Not only ELR, but also syndromic surveillance as well. Florida is one of the states that's leveraging the AIMS platform for syndromic surveillance. I'm happy to announce that AIMSplatform.com, it's right now it's in beta, okay, so we welcome any suggestions. If you go to AIMSplatform.com /resources, we've just updated as of this morning, all of our resources, our one-pagers, our PowerPoint slides. If you're interested in more information on AIMS, there's a form there and things of that nature. And over the next 10 to 14 days, we're also going to be launching a service desk. So when you've got a question, you don't necessarily have to call my cell phone, even though some people still do, which is okay. But there's actually a really innovative service desk that's in place. And honestly, there's a knowledge base as well. So you can type network access request form, which is a hot topic nowadays, and it may give you some examples or steps to follow, okay? So be on the lookout. That'll be on AIMSplatform.com, I would say over the next 2 weeks, okay? All right, last few slides, and then Dave, you're up. So one of the things that we do with APHL is not only maintain the security we have and make sure that everyone's receiving the best service that they should receive, but also trying to live in the future. And Patina Zarcone always likes to say that. Eddie, what's the next big thing? Dari, what's the next big thing? Marty, what's the next big thing? Whether it's cloud computing or security, or whether it's potentially having an AIMS marketplace, where folks like Janet Firestone at the Florida Department of Health can go online at AIMS and subscribe for a service. That's in the thoughts. That's in the roadmap. And that's just one example of what we try to do in the AIMS platform. What's the next big thing, and how can we be involved with that? Let me remind everyone, this is all public health. And people sometimes, when we speak to the private sector, including Quest, or even some hospitals, a lot of them are shocked that folks like in this room in public health with tight budgets have been able to come together and develop really what I consider a hub of national significance. That's in production today, okay? I think we should all be proud of that. And the last slide is, if you have any problems, you call Patina. Okay? And that's it for me. Dave, you're up.